Hi, everyone. My name is Praval, and I am fortunate to drive the social team at Zoho. So this is a subject I love to engage with people on and then talk about it. Let's get started. So this session has two parts, or let's say we have two sessions back to back. The first one talks about social media marketing from a marketing standpoint, wherein how do you manage your social media presence and things like that. The second half of it brings in the CRM integration aspect of it. What value does the CRM integration brings to it? So let's get started. Our marketing stack at Zoho pretty much covers everything from website, email, now even webinar and events. This session will talk about social. Let's look at the typical challenges that we as businesses face when we are on social media. As much as it appears, social media marketing challenges come down to very basic questions. When I talk to people at events, when we talk to customers, the typical questions that come from people are, well, we know it's important. We tweet. We have a Facebook page. We do something on LinkedIn. But then I don't have enough time to be on top of it. Right? I can't have a dedicated person to handle social media for my brand. The next thing that comes is, we do post once in a while, but we don't know what is the best time to post. How do we figure that out? Is there a standard best time for everyone to post? Well, there's not. And then, of course, for the last 10 years of being in the industry, I've always had this question where, okay, so how do you measure if it's working or not, right? Is it quantifiable? Is there an ROI that we can bring out of it? So all of that is where a social media tool helps. So we look at how Zoho Social was built on the premise of helping you with these problems or challenges. Here's a fun fact. At Zoholic Sales and Marketing in Pleasanton 4 years ago is where we did a private or a private beta of the product or a preview of the product. It's been 4 years since then. We've come a long way. Let's look at what we have today in the product. But then, before we get to that, a lot of different customers that I talk to and even friends otherwise in the industry, one thing that we often confuse with is, so what's the objective of being there? Why am I tweeting? Why am I participating on a conversation in LinkedIn? Why do I follow the influencers of my industry or domain? So, to put it simply, there are three broad reasons why you and I and every business which we know of does social media. So, top of the funnel, if I put it that way, is about awareness. We want people to know that we are there. We want people to perceive us as a social media friendly business. Okay? Think of all the large brands today. Do they need social media for direct sales? No. Is their objective lead generation? Probably not. But they're there for brand awareness and visibility. Then a lot of other businesses do social media for lead generation. And sales eventually, because they look at social media as a revenue generation source. And then the last bit to it is, you have happy customers, you want them to be your advocates, you want them to sort of evangelize for your business. Hey, this is my favorite cupcakery, or this is my favorite cafe next door, whatever. And because the way social works is, people look at what their friends like or share, that's where the third category fits into. Let's look how Zoho Social can help you with this. So when you've set up your Zoho Social account, this is how your home screen would look like. You see all your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and Instagram pages and profiles listed here. Right now, Zoho Social supports pages on all these networks. So when you set the account, here's where you see your networks listed. There's a quick stat about your total audience, how active they are, what's the engagement you're getting on each of these channels, and so on and so forth. The home screen also shows you the most recent posts on each of the networks and some quick stats about it. For example, how many people reacted to your recent post on, let's say, Facebook. On the right is a live stream. Now, what a live stream does is, if you're on the home screen, it shows you the recent activities that are in a way related to your business or profile. So if somebody liked your tweet or responded to your Facebook comment or retweeted your tweet, you would see them live there. The coolest thing about this feature is you don't just see it, you can actually engage with it. So when you click on that notification there's a pop-up that comes up. And it's intelligent. It tells you how many times that person has engaged with you before. It lets you reply, like, or basically engage with that action right from within the dashboard without leaving the screen. I could click on the name, and it'll take me to their detailed profile, which is essentially the connections tab. I'll come to that in a while. But if you click on the profile, you would see their interactions with your business or your profile, their social networks, and you can associate other channels with the same profile if you want to. Let's say in an interaction you happen to get their email addresses and phone numbers because most of these networks don't share the personal information by default, increasingly so now. You could put it there so that next time someone comes to this profile, they have an idea who this person is. If we go back, let's see something from, all right, so this person has engaged with us 23 times and is following 105 people and is followed by 56 of them. And when I click on his profile, I see there are other networks associated with this person already. So while I clicked on a Facebook thing, I see their Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, all linked together, sort of not really a CRM, but it gives you information about that very person. You'll be seeing these little tabs there which says lead or contact. I'll talk about it in the later half of the session because that has to do with the CRM integration. Now, let's say we look at this post and we click on details. So this page will show you more details about the post in terms of the kind of potential reach, stories created, languages, and stuff like that. This is a dummy account, so don't worry about the data here, but you get the big picture, which is it tells you which countries, which languages, where are they from, what are they speaking, things like that. The next tab is the post tab, which is by far the most used section of the application so far. And it's pretty straightforward. When you come to this tab, you see all the published posts by default across all networks. You could filter them by network. So for example, I only want to see what we did on Twitter. I can filter that as well. You can sort them by the date or by popularity. So the post that got the maximum number of engagement would show up first. Let's look at this one, for example. Yeah. So this tells you where are the people liking from, the languages they speak, what is the potential reach. Now this is a very nifty feature. It tells you this is not the exact number of people who would have seen this post, but the likelihood. So it predicts based on the connections of the people who have seen this post. So that sort of is a referral visibility that this post got. And some of these stats you would see are not natively provided on the network. So while Facebook natively gives certain set of data items, some of it is built on top of it, which is what third-party tools like Zoho Social work on. Moving ahead, you see this new post button on the top. Now this is where you create content and publish it. So on the top left, you see the networks and the channels that you can publish on or cross-publish on, I would say. So I could select or deselect a channel from here. Here's where your content goes. I could schedule it. Now here, publishing on Zoho Social can be done in different ways. You could either put your content here, add an image, put your content, and either post it right away, or pick and choose a day and time for it to go live. You could schedule it for that day, or you could set to repeat this post. So for example, let's say we host Zoholics. We know the Zoholics is going to happen. The next was in Canada, by the way, the following week. We know it's going to happen, and we knew it for the last maybe 45 days. What we can do is to let our followers and fans and people who are connected to us know about this event and then sort of repeat it to them, maybe like once a week. Or if I want to send out a tweet about it, let's say Monday morning, I can set to repeat this post. Now again, like I said, this feature is not native to any particular network. But third-party tools like Zoho Social have that for you to simplify your publishing schedules. Now is where the save, I don't have the time problem comes into it, right? It saves you from the problem of not having to go back and remember to tweet the same thing over and over again. I can choose the day of the week and the time and set a repeat until date for this update to go live. Here's a smart queue feature. Now, let's say you've been using Zoho Social for quite some time, you've published some posts, they got some engagement. There should be more to it, right? You should be able to know that based on the history of my posts that I've published previously, what is the best time to post? It cannot be one standard time for each one of us. How is it possible? We are different geography, different domains, different line of business. So what this does is, it tells you the next best time to post for your account based on the history. And that is where our the intelligence built into the product comes into picture. So the first time you set up your account, you would probably not see anything there. But over time, as you keep publishing using the product, this will learn to identify when are your most connections active. So apart from publishing it right away, or scheduling it, repeat posting it, you can also save it as a draft if you're not very sure about it. Another time-saving feature here is, if you noticed, a bulk scheduler. Let's say you have someone on the team who can sit down and create content for you. And that person is probably available for a couple of hours a week and not every day all the week. You could create the content, be sure of that this is what you want to go live, and you can upload it as a CSV or XLS. And that would go out at a time you choose. So you can upload and then schedule it. That again saves you a lot of time. Coming back to this view, we saw the published posts. You could see the promoted posts. If you promote your posts on Facebook, they'll show up here. You could see all your scheduled posts here as well. Unpublished posts. So all these networks, the way they work is, after every few days, they would sort of disconnect your account from tools like Zoho Social. So because they want you to be safe, in the sense of they don't want your account to be compromised. So in that case, if a post was scheduled, but during that time, your account was disconnected, your post will go there and sit. So that next time you re-authenticate, you can publish them live. Now, here's my most favorite feature, which honestly, I think it deserves a better spot in the product, but for some reasons, it's under the post tab. What it does is, if you are heavy on publishing, it shows you the entire month's calendar of how your post schedule looks. So for example, now this is the month of March. Here are the posts scheduled for each of the day that went live. If for this month, I want to look at a post that goes out 2 days from now, I can click on it, and it gives me a nice little preview of how it would look when it goes live. It tells me which networks would it go live on. It tells me it is set to repeat on a weekly basis. I can delete it, I can edit it, or I can just go ahead and publish it right away. Or, if I want this is on Sunday, but I want this to go out on Tuesday, I can just drag and drop it here, and that sort of gives me a high-level view of my post-publishing calendar. What I can also do is I can look at the weekly view of the post. So if you're like very heavy on publishing, you have a team of people managing your content calendar, this view will help you see what is going out on which network, on what day of the week, and what time. All right, let's move on to the Messages tab. Now this tab is all your direct messages that have come to you via Facebook and Twitter, direct messages. So these are like private messages. That's the reason they have a separate tab for it. And if you have people on your team, you can decide who gets access to what. I'll come to the roles and permissions part of it in a while. But just to let you know, you have complete control on who on your team gets to do what using Zoho Social without having to share your passwords for these networks. Let's look at the Monitor tab now. One cool thing about this Messages tab is it shows you the recent interactions. So for example, if I look at this profile, let's say a customer or a prospect reached out to you via Twitter direct message. At that point in time, what else do you know about that person apart from the message, which is hi? Well, The interaction tab tells you about the previous interactions that person has had with your profile, and that's contextual information. Regardless of who's handling this query right now, or this question, the person would know how did the previous interactions go with that person. You can, not just that, you can actually click on their recent tweets. For example, if they're already, let's say you are a travel site, that person sent you a message. You want to go to the recent tweets and see who else are they trying to reach out to, sort of to bring some context in the conversation. Now, this is the monitoring dashboard. All your hashtags, all the keywords, all the competitors that you want to track. You key in here, and you can track them as independent columns here. Let's do that. We're all at Zoholics. Let me add a Twitter keyword search here for the hashtag Zoholics. By the way, these are the different kinds of columns that you can create. So we have your leads and contacts from CRM. I'll talk about that in the next session. Your visitor posts, page mentions, and page search for Facebook, at mentions, timeline, likes, and keyword search on Twitter, and then Google Plus and Instagram. Let's do that for hashtag search. All right. So these are the updates from Instagram that are coming up right now with the hashtag Zoholics. All right. So this is real time. So let's say you are at an event or you're hosting one. You could always see what are people talking about you, what are they saying, and not just see, you can actually engage with them, right? Let's say I want to like this tweet, this interaction. Here you go. I can comment on this. I can repost this from my account if I want to. All of that without leaving Zoho Social, without having to go to your Instagram app. I can save this column if I want to look at it across the day. So this is now saved as Instagram Zoholics. I can do that for Twitter as well. So let's see. What are people tweeting about? All right. Same way. I can save these columns for my brand and keep them aligned. I can also drag and drop them. So for example, this one is more important. I can move it as the first column. Let's say you found a hashtag within a tweet. The easiest way to set another column for that is click on it. That hashtag will show up in a pop-up across other networks as well. You could see when people use that hashtag Zoholics Austin, what do they say on different networks? And let's say, so there's no one using that hashtag on Instagram yet. Zoholics Austin on Instagram is not there. It means no one has used it yet. But I see that on Twitter, well, Google Plus. So, monitor. The next step is, how do we make sure that when there are different people on the team, my columns are, someone doesn't remove my column the way I want. So how it works is, on a team, all the users get their own preference to set up their style of the column position or the networks they want to choose. The only cap is at the number of columns you can have for an account, which is around 15. Let's move ahead. The connections tab. Now, a connection is any user on any social network who has ever engaged with you. So let's say somebody liked a tweet, somebody responded to a Facebook comment, or Facebook page, or sent you a direct message, and that person becomes a connection. Now, this is pretty interesting. You could see the recently engaged connections, most engaged connections, all your connections, and then following and followers on Twitter, your CRM leads and contacts who have engaged with you. And then if you've blocked or muted any accounts on Twitter, they would show up here as well. So let's look at this most engaged connection on the top. I click on that. I see their profile, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I can follow them back from here. I can see their interactions. I can also see their Twitter profile. I can see who they're following, what are they tweeting, what are they liking on the network, and things like that. Now again, you see these contact and lead labels here. That's what I said. This is because these people are in my CRM account. They're labeled so that I know as a marketer that these people are already in the CRM, and salespeople, my sales team is probably already engaging with them. Next is the Collaborate tab. Well, what we talk about here is, as a team, one of the biggest problems I had back in the day when I was running an agency was the email ping pong we used to play all day within the team members. Right? Do this, get that done, it's not ready, needs refinement, I need an image for this, I need a video for this. That used to happen on email. Now with this, you could think of it like a wall within Zoho Social for your team members. You could put a message, you could share a report, you could share a post, you could share a connection as well. Let's share a connection and see. So let's say this person is someone I want to discuss within the team members. So I would say, discuss. And I can say, hey, can we reach out to him and get his feedback? And I can, let's say, tag. So I tagged Ritika, my team member, I shared a connection, and I have a request for her. Can we reach out to this person and get his feedback? Now, all this happened without sending a single email or a chat message within the product. Now, but how would she get to know about it? Well, you can customize that. So there would be email notifications, there are push notifications on the phone, and there are team notifications within the product. Now, team notifications are not the social media notifications, but these are when people on the same team tag each other or share something. All of that would show up. The sharing activity can be applied to pretty much anything. Say, let's say this was the most recent post, and I have a comment about it. So I could go ahead and discuss and say, can we try a video next time instead of the image? And let's say I tag someone else here. So all these interactions are happening within the wall. People can comment, and instead of sending emails back and forth, the entire discussion can stay here. And it actually tells you the type of sharing that we are doing here. So that one was connection. This is a post. You could do reports as well. And then, as the team grows, as you have more discussions happening here, you probably would need a filter. So let's say I only want to see discussions about posts here. So I could choose the filter, and all these discussions are about the posts that have been made. Now, the measurement part of it. How do I measure if what I'm doing is working or not? Now, we've played around a bit in terms of how we present the reports to customers. And the best way we realized was to give the freedom to customers to decide what works best for them. There's no single report that all of us can stick to. Okay? So what we did was we came up with the concept of custom reports. Create a report that suits you, your business, your client, your manager, your team. And how you do that is, you hit the Create Custom Report button. You give it a title. And then you start dragging and dropping these metrics across different networks. So for example, I want to see countries my fans are from on the Facebook network. Maybe I want a pie chart, not a bar chart. And instead of all, I want only top 5 countries. So I hit apply. I got a pie chart. The next metric on this report I want is not from Facebook, but from Twitter. I want to see my brand performance overview. Not all time, but past 15 days. Yeah, I'm okay with this graph. So I hit apply. The next one can be from LinkedIn. Says, what are the industries where my followers are from? A bar graph, okay. Apply. I can go on. These reports are unlimited. There's no separate charges for these reports. You could customize them the way you want. You can save them and revisit whenever you want. The data will always be real time, as of today, now, what you see. Or I can save and schedule. Let's say I want to report Monday morning, every Monday morning. So here's a bit of automation here. Save and schedule. All right, so who do I want it to go to? Do I want to add a message along with it? I can set the frequency. I can even choose the format I want. So let's say I don't want PDF, I want a PNG, and I want it daily would be a little too much, maybe a weekly report. So I can choose every Monday, 10 a.m., this report would go as a PNG, and this is done. You can always come back. Let's say a week later you realize, okay, we want some change in this report, or you want altogether a new report. You can create a new report, or you could edit the report to customize and add what you want it to have. Let's look at what are the reports that you can create from this. The reports are split across different networks. This is for Facebook. We have similar reports for Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Again, data points on each of these networks are different given what the API allows us to do. So you won't see the exact same terms across networks, but we've tried to unify it as much as we could. The stats tab is what are the numbers off the shelf from the networks, and the analytics tab gives you deeper insight into how well is your brand doing. Let's say on Twitter, these are the recent stats. Where are the connections located, which language they communicate in, how is the brand performing, and things like that. If I go to analytics, I see what do you publish and what gets engagement. What is the best time to tweet? What are the connections saying about you? Or who are your key connections? Key connections could be based on someone who retweets your tweets a lot, or likes them a lot, or mentions you a lot, and then the sentiment associated with them. You could choose a time period. Let's say I do all time. So that'll give you an all-time report, or 30-day, or 7-day. If you do that for Facebook, it shows you this little graph which tells you in the last 30 days, because the filter is set to 30 days, you published 3 posts, you got 4 people talking about them, 3 more stories were created, and then in total you reached 36 people. Moving forward, and then you have similar reports for other networks as well. So depending on what data we get from the APIs, we are partners with Facebook and Instagram, so we have access to the APIs that are even specific to the partners, some of the beta APIs where we can experiment on, and things like that. I'll touch the CRM report. Now let's look at how do you manage the whole setup from an admin perspective, or if you are in charge of managing the application. So you go to setup, you go to brand setting. This is for this brand called Zilker Travels, which is a dummy sample brand, I would say. You could choose the photo you want to associate. You can edit all of that. You can edit the description, time zone. You can pause your posts. Now, this is something which is helpful during an emergency. Let's say you have a calendar of scheduled posts, but something happened and you don't want those posts to go live. What do? You could either go on every post and start deleting them. What do you do when you have like 100 posts scheduled in the next month? So if you hit the pause button here, all the posts from here on would be paused. And that's again a feature which is not native to the networks. Individual networks like Facebook and Twitter do not provide this. This is because you're using Zoho Social, the posts you have scheduled using the tool would be paused. It sends a message to everybody as well so that everybody's aware that we are not, we've paused the schedule for all the posts. You could use our default shortener, which is zurl.co, but if you love Bitly, we integrate with them as well. The next tab shows you the social networks associated with this brand. Now, you notice I use the word brand a couple of times here. Brand here means the entity. So let's say the Coca-Cola company is a business where they have different brands. So Fanta is a brand, Sprite is a brand, Coke is a brand. But ultimately, it's all one company. So if you have different lines of businesses or different products, you could have one Zoho Social account, and you can switch between brands. So the Zilker Travels also runs a cafe called Zilker Co. You could switch to that brand. And then all these details that we just saw in the last 25 minutes would be for that brand. You could add more brands. You could add more users. start associating your social channels to the next brand that you want to create. Coming back to the setup screen, so we saw the brand information, social networks, and then brand members. And this is what I was talking about. We have granular access to every single user on the product. So right now you see we have 30 members managing these channels for the brand Zilker Travels. We have roles defined for them, and we can decide which networks do they have access to. Let's say we got a new intern on the team whom we want to respond to just the tweets and nothing else. What do? Well, you give them access to just Twitter without having to share your passwords. You see these little roles here: portal admin, user, content writer. Now, we have certain defaults, but you could go ahead and create your own role as well. Let's do that. Now, these are the default roles. Let's say you create a role. Intern. I don't want her to be able to publish posts, but she can handle direct messages. She can comment and reply to tweets and Facebook wall posts, and she can definitely pull out reports. Well, I just created a new role here. So I go back to the brand members, and let's say this is a person. I can change this person's role to intern. So you see how this is two-dimensional. One is what you can do on a network, and two is which networks can you work on. Moving forward, even the notifications are very, very granular. The head of the marketing probably doesn't want to be notified about every single interaction that is happening. He or she might only be interested in a weekly report. You can decide who gets notified for what and for which page and which account. It's again very, very granular. You can add members here. You can define which roles you want them to be notified for and things like that. Now, all these brands that we're adding are part of a single portal, which is the top account. So for Zoho, we have one portal. We could have different brands. We could have Zoho as a brand, Manage Engine as a brand, and so on and so forth. So there could be brand members, there could be portal members. Think of it like an admin and a super admin. That's pretty much it about what you can do with Zoho Social, how you can manage your entire social media presence across different networks.